All right, welcome to this explainer. So let's talk about one of the absolute biggest headaches in modern business. How exactly do you attract, and more importantly, keep top-tier talent when cash is tight? It's a massive hurdle, especially if we're talking about startups and fast-growing companies. The answer, more often than not, comes down to equity. Today, we're demystifying ESOPs, taking you all the way from the basic concept of equity right to massive wealth creation. Okay, let's dive into this. Think about a standard cash bonus. Yeah, it feels great right now, but the upside? It's totally capped. Plus, it really drains the company's cash reserves. But flip that and look at an employee stock ownership plan, or ESOP. The immediate value might seem low initially, sure, but the long-term wealth creation potential, it's off the charts. And the cash required from the employer up front is super low. It's a literal game changer because it perfectly aligns your mindset and ownership mindset with the company's long-term success. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the power of ESOPs, look at the different forms of equity out there, and trace the four-step life cycle. Then we'll get to the fun part, creating real employee wealth. Finally, we'll wrap up with the realities of risks and dilution, plus a few best practices. Stick around because seeing how these numbers actually play out is pretty incredible. Okay, Section 1, the power of ESOPs. So what are we actually talking about here? An ESOP is basically a program where a company gives you, the employee, the right to acquire ownership, usually in the form of shares or stock options. Here's the kicker. Instead of just trading your hours for a standard paycheck, an ESOP lets you build the company's growth today while locking in your chance to cash in on that value later. You're literally building your own wealth as you work. Moving right along to Section 2, Forms of Equity Programs. Now, stock options are for sure the most common flavor out there. They give you the right to buy shares at a set price down the road. But you've also got restricted stock units, or RSUs. If you're at a mature tech giant, you'll see these a lot. You don't actually buy them. You just get the shares once you hit certain milestones. Then there are employee share purchase plans, letting you snag shares at a sweet 5 to 15% discount. Oh, and we can't forget phantom shares and stock appreciation rights. These actually pay out cash based on value growth, without any actual ownership changing hands. It's the whole shebang. All right, Section 3. Let's break down the four-step ESOP life cycle. Every single ESOP goes through this exact four-step journey. Step 1, the grant. That's the exciting day you're actually awarded the options. Step 2 is vesting. This is the grind where you earn the right to own them over time. Step 3 is the exercise phase. That's when you actually pull the trigger and buy the shares. And Step 4, the liquidity event. Think IPO or getting acquired. That's when you finally sell those shares and see the actual cash. This is the narrative engine driving your equity. Okay, quick pause. Before we go any further, we really need to nail down a crucial piece of jargon, the strike price or exercise price. This is the locked-in, predetermined price you pay to buy those shares during Step 3. And here is the absolute best part. This price is locked in on your grant date. So if the company's value goes straight to the moon, your strike price doesn't budge. That gap between your cheap strike price and the massive new market value, well, that's where the magic happens. Which brings us right to vesting. Look at a standard 4-year schedule with a 1-year cliff. Notice how in year 1, right before that cliff, you have absolutely 0% vested. If you pack up and leave at month 11, you walk away with nothing. But hit that 12-month mark, and boom, 25% of your options are officially yours. From there, you just gradually earn the rest over years 2, 3, and 4. You can totally see why companies love this, right? It's the ultimate retention tool. Let's dive into Section 4, Creating Real Employee Wealth, the math behind the magic. All right, let's look at a real-world setup. Imagine you're an early hire. The founders grant you 20,000 stock options, and your strike price is locked in at $2 a share. Got it? 20,000 options, $2. Fast forward 4 years, you're fully vested. The company absolutely crushed it, and the current share price is sitting at $15. Now, to buy your shares, your exercise cost is just your 20,000 options times that $2 strike price, so $40,000. Not pocket change, sure, but look at the market value. 20,000 shares at $15 a pop? That is $300,000. Do the math. $260,000. That is your personal gain. You paid $40,000 for an asset worth $300,000. No way, right? But it happens. This right here proves the undeniable power of long-term upside.
It is exactly why people take the leap and join startups. It literally transforms you from someone just collecting a paycheck into an owner, profiting directly from the value you helped create.
Moving to Section 5, Risks, Rewards, and Dilution.
Now we have to keep it real. There are harsh realities on both sides of the table. For you, the employee, the glaring risk is that the company value might just stall out. If the market value drops below your $2 strike price, your options are basically worthless. Plus, there's a serious lack of liquidity. Private shares are notoriously tricky to sell, and let's not even start on the complex tax obligations. And for employers, setting up an ESOP means shareholder dilution, massive administrative complexity, and some pretty hefty accounting costs. Let's zoom in on that idea of dilution for a second. Imagine founders owning 100% of their new startup. To attract rockstar talent like you, they carve out an ESOP pool, usually around 10%. By doing that, the founder's slice naturally shrinks to 90%. They are actively diluting their own ownership to create this pool. And frankly, major investors usually demand this before they'll even write a check. And man, the administrative burden on the company is real. Under strict accounting standards like IFRS and US GAAP, ESOPs make a huge dent in financial statements. The employer has to figure out the fair value at the grant date using complex formulas like Black-Scholes. Then they have to record that as a compensation expense throughout your entire vesting period, eventually shifting it to share capital when you exercise. It directly impacts earnings per share. It's a heavy lift. Okay, bringing it home with Section 6, Best Practices for Success. If you're an employee, listen up, because these are absolute non-negotiables. You have to know your vesting schedule and, crucially, your exercise deadlines. Did you know if you leave a company, you typically only have 90 days to buy your vested options before they literally vanish forever? Yeah, and please evaluate the tax consequences. Talk to a tax pro before you exercise, or you might end up with a terrifying surprise bill from the IRS. Also, diversify. Don't let your entire net worth ride on one single startup. Employers, you aren't off the hook. You've got to design an ESOP that actually competes with industry standards. But most importantly, talk to your team. Communicate clearly. An ESOP is totally useless as a motivator if your employees don't actually understand how it makes them money. You also need to keep a close eye on dilution and run regular valuations to stay compliant. When you do all this right, it's a massive win-win that drives incredible growth. Well, that brings us to the end of our explainer today, but I want to leave you with this to chew on. Ultimately, will you choose to be just a worker or an owner of the value you create? Look, ESOPs are dense, they're complex, and yeah, they carry real risks, but they are also, without a doubt, one of the greatest engines for personal wealth creation in the modern economy. Hopefully, pulling back the curtain on how equity works empowers you to take the reins on your financial future. Keep learning, keep building, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.